The year of establishment of the first National Agriculture Policy, or known as DPN, was on 1984 until 1991. This DPN was introduced with the aim of agricultural development until the year of 2000, maximizing income through the efficient use of resources, trying to block the continuous decline in the contribution of agricultural sector to GDP, and take an approach to agricultural development by emphasizing the involvement and investment of the private sector, reducing subsidies and aid, and promoting the commercialization of agriculture through group plantation. In addition to continuing in situ development, currently the agricultural sector has recorded an average annual growth rate at 3.2%. Total value added agricultural produce increased from RM 11.9 billion in 1985 to RM 16.2 billion in 1995. Meanwhile, the export value of agricultural goods increased from RM 13.9 billion in 1985.
Next is why the policy was established. Several considerations have been used as a guide in formulating DPN strategies and programs. When the agriculture sector is facing challenge to its contribution and in the national development, the National Agriculture Policy of the DPN has formed apart from maintaining the attention to efforts to reduce the poverty rate among farmers. In addition, it is also a comprehensive long-term policy taking into account the country's need that time and in the future. However, many people think that the drafting of the DPN was presented rather late. This is after the country reached 25 years of independence. Some groups consider DPN as not different from the agriculture policies that have been practiced by the country. Apart from some change to the strategy, most of the DPN strategy is not different from the previous agriculture. In 1984, the country's agriculture policy was changed so that the agriculture sector could be developed. The country's first agriculture policy was developed with an export orientation. It also expanded and prioritized commodity crops such as cocoa and palm oil. The implementation of the country's first agriculture policy has received investment from the government in the development of infrastructure as well as the opening of new lands of developed cocoa and palm oil crops.
Who are responsible to that policy? Under the guidance of the development of agriculture, several enactments have been approved to accelerate the development and preservation of land rights. These include those related to the abolition of contract labour, specializing land for bumiputras, blocking the entry of dangerous enemies, and 4. Granting less than 10 acres of land to true farmers. The Department of Agriculture in its states has been responsible for implementing expansion programs to advance the smallholder sector. The Department of Agriculture efforts focus only on plant research, providing technical experts to farm operators, and extension service to smallholder. After the country achieved independence, the Department of Agriculture has grown rapidly and strengthened. The role played by the Department of Agriculture today is as follows. For example, is accelerating the transformation of agriculture into a modern, dynamic and commercial sector. Last, agriculture improve human resource development.
Next, aims of the policy. Objective of DPN 1, 1984 until 1991. DPN 1 was enacted to advance the agricultural sector. Among the objectives are 1. Develop on export-oriented agricultural sector and meet the current situation. National Agricultural Policy 1984. 2. Sufficient labor force. 3. Developing economic policies. Nation Development Policies 1988. 4. Sufficient land resources. 5. Commodity crops, plantation, palm oil, cocoa, rubber. 6. Infrastructure is given priority. National Agricultural Policy 1984 Agricultural Policy, Third Countries 1998 until 2010. DPN Strategy and Goals 1 why the following strategies are set to achieve the objective of the DPN's National Agricultural Policy. National Agricultural Policy 1984. 1. Reorganization and optimal use of land. 2. Effective absorption of technology. 3. Improvement and intensification of agricultural services and infrastructure. Malaysian Development Policy 1988. 4. The supply of input subsidies and price intensive the development of agro-based industries. National Agro-Food Policy 2011 until 2000.
Conclusion. The country's first agriculture policy has achieved many successes and goals, such as expanding and prioritizing commodity crops such as cocoa and palm oil. The implementation of the country's first agriculture policy has also had many positive effects, namely that farmers has received investment from the government in infrastructure development, as well as the opening of new land in the development of cocoa and palm oil. On the other hand, this policy also has a weakness, which is GDP and energy consumption that decreases. This has caused the government to draft a second national agriculture policy to overcome the problem. Throughout the implementation of the policy formulated by the government has gone smoothly, and overall it has achieved its goal.